Hello friends, this is Ifa. Welcome back to a new video. In this video I'm going to paint this illustration and I'm going to elaborate step-by-step process of this whole painting. So grab your paper paint brushes and let's get started. I'm using a watercolor paper which I'll be link in the description below, and I'm using this old watercolor notebook just to stick the paper with some washi tapes so the paper can't move around. So the paint brushes I am using here, 5 brushes in total, but here you can see that I'm using this 4 and later I'll be using a thinner flat brush. In last year I tried to attempt this painting with watercolor and I really wanted to make a realistic kind of painting, but it's not possible with watercolor from my knowledge, so it was going very weird at that point, so I stopped. And that day I really felt that I need to buy a gouache paint set for this kind of realistic illustrations. The first step is sketching out this painting, but the painting is not too difficult to sketch out because we're going to only draw 2 wavy lines here because this is going to be our road, and we're done sketching out our painting. The next step is coloring the background with a large flat brush, and here I'm going to use a dark green color which is a mixture of arts green and black color. And here I am going to use this flat brush because by using this large flat brush I can grab a lot of paint into my brush and it's very easier to color out a larger space with a large flat brush. So the first step is done and let's dry this out. I'm painting in a demo version because I forgot to film this step in the paper that I've showed you in the first step. After coloring the whole background, we are going to use our arts green color with a bit of watery texture and we are going to color all the trees. I'm not thinking about too much while coloring this painting because it's basically the background of the trees where we're going to add too much details on it. And I'm using a round brush here and I'm just tapping the brush against the paper by holding the brush straight. I tried to use this thin flat brush at first, but it wasn't looking very good and didn't give me any texture on it, so I skipped that brush for this step and I used the round brush again. So I have started painting from the top of the page, which is necessary so that if you're painting in the bottom you don't ruin it while painting in the top. And sometimes I forget this and do paint in the bottom in a flow, but sometimes the bottom painting kind of smudged or ruined by my hand. While coloring out this step, I was thinking that I should have colored the road first, but as I've done it, the next step, which is the step number 4, is going to coloring the road with a small flat brush. If you're going to paint this illustration, bear in mind that you can do the lawn or the forest background first, then the road, and then you can do the step number 4, which is coloring the background of the trees. For the road, I am using this smaller flat brush and I'm using a bluish black color to coloring the whole road because I wanted to make it looks like dark pitched road and it's in the rainy season, so basically I focused on this road to add more bluish greenish colors. So for making this color I have used blackish green color, black and acid blue, and it kind of turned out a bit of greenish bluish black color. So for the road, while I was painting this color, I kinda used this darkest shade in the border of the road and then I started painting a bit of light greenish bluish color in the middle so that the focus always gone in the middle of the road, because you can say that the shadows of the trees are just falling out on the road. Just to make this very easier, I'm not going to add shadows from the trees, so this step is necessary to do. The step 5 is adding more trees with Latin green color, which is the lightest green shade on this painting. And here I'm using the same technique for all the trees. And so in this step, I was focusing coloring the trees in groups so that a group of strokes represent one tree or more than one. But basically, I was thinking about to make a group for each tree. After finishing this step, I am going to add some ochre color to add more autumnal vibe into this, and trees which have red leaves on it. This is very random step, and as you can see, the texture of this painting was very bold and the consistency of this paint was too heavy, and I used a very little amount of water to mix this color. The next step is clearing some trees with the same background color which I've used in the step 2, and I have done it because I wanted to build more depth and darkness. The next step is using an orange, a deep yellow color to add the definition of fall trees. Here I'm targeting the sides of each trees with the red leaves and the top of the red trees. At this point, this painting will look very bland and you should trust the process here. After coloring all these red trees with orange and yellow, we're going to use a small little brush with thin bristles on it and going to use this yellow and ochre color to add more definition. And here I'm focusing on the trees so that the trees don't look too yellow or too red, but a mixture of these colors of leaves. And the groups looks little blended with the green trees as well. The whole painting is very simple, but you have to just follow your instinct and how it looks. Here I am using the same tapping mode, and I didn't thought too much about it and I just tapped the paint into the paper. Later I found that this color was too muted, so I started gradually building up the red color, even though the color I really didn't like in the last step because it was too vibrant to match with the green background and this red colors, and it was looking like flowers. So here I'm using this chrome orange color so that both of the green trees and red trees looks cohesive. Later I will use a bit orange, which is a very muted orange, to build the orange leaf effect on the sides of the green trees. The last step is to add road dividers and the cars with white paint. I'm using a thin but long bristle brush so that I can add these longer lines with this brush and I have more controls on it. After adding all the lines on this road, we're going to color the car in the middle of this road. Sometimes even you're using a white paint directly on your painting, it doesn't show up its true colors, so you have to layer it multiple times. And after drying all these white paints, I am using my Pigma Micron fine liner to add the definition of the car. I'm going to reveal the sharp edge of this painting, even though this is not the last step because I wasn't very much happy with the painting here, and I will try to add a bit of details later. I wanted to use a burnt umber in this stage, but I didn't, so that I can show you how less you can use some colors here. And if you want to darken up this red, you can use a bit of black to make it a bit darker if you don't want to use any brown color. So that's it for this painting, but here is an additional step that I'm going to do is add white dots on the top of the trees so that it looks the light is focusing on the top leaves or top branches. I hope that makes sense. And I think it looks much better when I use this technique in the last. And yeah, finally I'm done with my whole painting. I hope you like this video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.